All right, GM Fox fam, I'm getting started right now. Just had to update some slides here to sneak in a last minute proposal. Need 2 seconds to set up the Zoom and we'll get going. I will start off our housekeeping notes here with, if this is your first time ever joining a ShapeShift Dao governance call, there are lots of ways you can get involved with this. We have the Zoom link, which is posted inside the ShapeShift Dao stage. That's where all of our slides for today's call will be presented. That's where you can follow along with everything that we'll be talking about. I'm joining it right now, sharing the slides. Cool. We also can use that chat to ask questions as we go through all of the presenters that are going to be on stage today. So please feel free to raise your hand and we'll see if we can get you up to ask questions. But if not, that ShapeShift Dao stage chat is the best place for you to ask questions and get them answered by any of our presenters on stage. We're going to use this call today to go through proposals that have recently passed with Fox votes, as well as proposals that might be active or inactive. And then we're also going to look at some forum posts. We've got the Fox forum is the best way for folks to get ideas created into actual proposals that can be voted on and passed by the DAO. And we've got some forum posts that are turning into ideation posts that will soon turn into proposals, as well as some other things to cover that were just presented in the forum, which is a great community place for people to present ideas to the rest of the DAO and get feedback and get kind of incubation on how to be involved and contribute with this DAO. So this is our governance call number 36. We've been doing quite a lot of them, and thank you all for having us here, for being here with us through it. Just like I said earlier, we're going to start with recent proposals, current proposals, as well as upcoming ones, and then we'll look at all of our ideation and posts in the forum, and we might have some time today for a Q&A. There also is a community governance tracker. It needs a little bit of love. We'll be focusing on it, but this has been a passion project of Mrs. for a while, and I've been behind the 8 ball and making sure I can get her some bounties for taking care of that. If you're there, Miss, thank you very much for doing all that you do for the DAO and for working with me on this. We will get that updated soon so you folks can see all of the cool metrics and insights we've had about the proposals that come through the stage. First off, we got our past proposals, and we've got CryptoMag. Doesn't look like she's here, so I will speak very quickly on this. This one passed with 4.34 million votes. And this assures funding for the community or the customer support work stream for the rest of the year. Meg will be stepping down into more of a part-time role as she steps away from maternity leave with her second child a little bit later on in the year. And with that, there are some responsibility changes that are happening with some of the different contributors in that work stream. We've got a whole bunch of folks that are stepping up to new responsibilities, and the budget reflects as such. If you guys have any questions about what's going on, there is a customer support workstream channel, and they have monthly community calls where they go over all of the metrics from the team. And that's the best place to follow up with Meg, Mogi, or the rest of the crew over there. So thank you, Fox fam, for continuing the support of the customer support workstream so everyone can be supported here.
Underneath of it. So yeah, lots of stuff that we're trying to accomplish. Super excited for these next 6 months. Word on the street is we'll be getting the email list very soon, and that'll just be another thing to add to the bucket there that we could start marketing. Really excited to kick it off and see us in the news a lot more and just talking about ShapeShift. So very excited for the next 6 months to come. A few busy weeks, but totally well worth it to have this pass.
Yeah, and Toasty, normally when we do something like this with a new work stream, there's even like a kickoff, but you guys have been around the block a little bit. But I do think with the retiring or shuttering of the old marketing work stream, that a retro or some kind of meeting where we can talk about what happened there and how we're going to improve on it would be in order. Do you guys have plans for that in the schedule yet?
I would actually pitch, instead of like adding another meeting to everybody's calendar, that we use next week's office hours. We fall on the opposite week of products, so products just happened today. Ours is next Thursday at the exact same time. So I'm going to say let's change that, instead of just being an open office hour, to more of like a retro, things to come, things that worked well. We can review some KPIs. We could treat it as a retro, but instead of adding a new meeting on everybody's schedule, let's just use that one and reframe it for a more structured retro kind of feel.
I love that. Yeah, less meetings on the calendar is fine by me. And I think that's a great venue for hosting that discussion. So I appreciate you guys doing that with your next office hours.
Cool. Yeah, I will spread the news about that towards the end of this week and beginning of next week, letting people know that's how the office hours are going to be structured, and everybody should definitely join.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you and congratulations. And we look forward to seeing all the work that your massive team will continue to churn out.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, everybody. GM, take care.
GM Toasty. And we have an active proposal that just snuck in last minute. Thanks, Willie, for keeping me on my toes. This is the SCP-76 Join Water, the new pair.
This is a proposal we discussed last week while I was in the ideation stage, and I got full support in ideation. TLDR for this, this will be a way to increase Fox liquidity on Gnosis chain without expensive liquidity mining. This whole concept for water was actually inspired by the token swap that ShapeShift did last year with Fox and Honey with the OneHive DAO. OneHive got a lot of interest from other DAOs to do similar token swaps, and they did a couple more, but they only have so much honey. And so they had the idea to create a new token, water, that would be created with the specific purpose of being paired with DAO's governance tokens and deployed to liquidity pools. So the idea here, if this proposal passes, is that we will allocate $100,000 of Fox as one of the launch partners for this new water protocol. And $100,000 of water will be minted for ShapeShift, as well as the other projects that are participating. We got OneHive, of course. Opolis, our friends, are going to be participating with work. Bright ID, a really awesome Sybil resistance protocol. Giveth, one of my favorite projects in the space. The Token Engineering Commons, and ShapeShift if this proposal passes. So solid launch cohort. So $100,000 of each governance token will be provided to the water multi-sig. $100,000 for each governance token of water will be minted. And then the liquidity will be deployed to HoneySwap. So it'll increase Fox liquidity by $100,000 on HoneySwap. And there's no token swap. It's basically the idea here is that if we ever want to cancel it, we can get our tokens back. There's just a 15% penalty on whatever Fox is in the liquidity pool at that time. But if this goes well, then the liquidity can sit there. We can choose to even allocate more liquidity to this program. And hopefully a lot of other projects will want to come join the water pool party as well. I think there's one thing I'm forgetting. Yeah, the other really cool thing to note, some of you guys might already be putting this together, is that water itself will be like an index token for DAO governance tokens. So there's not going to be any airdrop or any liquidity mining or anything with water. The only way to get water will be to be one of the DAOs participating and have water minted to be paired with your liquidity, or to buy water on the open market. And water will act as an index token for all of the participating governance tokens because it will only be paired with these governance tokens. So really, really interesting concept. And yeah, I'm grateful that the OneHive community invited us to be part of the launch cohort. And I hope you guys will check out the proposal. Happy to answer any questions, but if not, I'll pass it back to Tyler.
My slides are already outdated, even though I made this slide 10 minutes ago. So fast moving foxes are voting here. Get your vote as well. And thanks, Willie, for coordinating this with everyone over at Water and OneHive.
Thank you, Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Willie.
GM,
I was actually going to ask a question to Willie, if that's all right.
Of course.
First of all, great presentation. Love the proposal overall. Just a couple questions on it. That 15% penalty, if we ever want to use it, is there any wiggle room in that? Would it be worth talking about some sort of time frame where we could get it all back if we, committed to X number of months or years?
That is a good question. I will say the proposal has already passed a couple other of these projects' governances. So, and I think it's kind of the same deal for all of the projects. So, it's kind of just like it's an exit fee if we want to rage quit. But I don't anticipate that we would necessarily want to rage quit anytime soon. But even if we did, let's imagine that we do want to rage quit even immediately. It would cost us $15,000. So it's a low cost experiment is the way I see it, and it's still cheap, a lot cheaper than what we're spending like every day on these other liquidity mining programs. So if it works, it could really pay off a lot more in the long run.
Makes sense. Totally agreed. And I guess this is a really small chance of happening, but what if Honey backed out? Would we get rewarded 15% of their stake if for any reason their governance ever wanted to change things?
So basically, yeah, what would happen if a project wanted to back out, then their liquidity pool, so in this case, like let's say One Hive, the Honey and Water liquidity pool, all of that liquidity would be removed, and the honey would be returned. However much honey was in the pool would be returned to One Hive minus 15%. And then I think that water would just be burned is what I imagine would happen. Because the idea is to only have this water to be paired with project tokens.
Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you. I see another question from Ethan in the audience. Will the water index tokens hold active gov power? That has definitely kind of been discussed, and I think there's discussions around how can water itself be more decentralized and not just managed by a multi-sig of participating projects, but actually be managed by water holders. One of the challenges with this is just figuring out how does water get distributed to the actual token holders, right?
Pasta Ghost or Highlander is available to hop up and talk about maybe the next steps here. But yeah, GM Pasta Ghost.
Yeah, GM Tyler. Yeah, so SCP-71 was on track to pass by a narrow margin, but considering the contention surrounding that proposal and the number of concerns in the community that had really gotten addressed, we thought the right thing to do was probably to go ahead and take that down, try to address some of the standing concerns from the community, and put it back up in a modified form that's mutually satisfactory for the both of us, because that's what we're looking for here. So Highlander and I are presently modifying the proposal based on some conversations that we had earlier in the week with a few community members, and intend to repost that to Ideation later today.
That's quite the turnaround, you guys. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to work with the community to address those concerns and things like that. You certainly had the ability to walk away with the quorum there, but seeing that you wanted to make sure that the contention was addressed, I think is very big of you guys. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're trying to partner with the community here, right? Not get anything from the community or get something passed in despite of objection, despite the objections from the community. So, it's in both the best interest of KeepKey and the DAO to find a way to work cooperatively in the smoothest fashion possible, and that's what we're looking to do here.
Awesome. And so with this moving forward, would the best place, if there's a community member out there that would like to see more things addressed, is the forum post the best place to present those questions to you guys, or how
yes,
can
absolutely.
Community? Yeah.
The forum post would be the best, so that's visible to the entire community. And feel free to post any questions, comments, or concerns either before or after the revised proposal is posted.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Pasta Ghost. Thank you, Highlander. I'll look forward to these updates when they come out, and the discussion that can come with it.
Sounds good, GM. Also, drip drip.
GM drip drip. There have been updates around Ideation and Boardroom coming soon, and the updates aren't really anything I can share beyond the fact that they're coming soon, but coming soon is better than still out. There's a forum proposal template linked here if you'd like to figure out the best way to do ideation in the forum right now. That's the current process we're doing, is ideas show up in the forum before they make it to ideation, which has kind of some more protocols with a poll and a format that you need to follow. And then once you've done that and gotten the proper amount of time in front of the community, you can move it over to a proposal. So any questions or interest in this process, the best people to reach out to are myself, Willie Fox, John is John, Miss, or anyone inside that governance channel inside the Discord. We've got quite a few ideation posts that have happened. So with these, if we've got anyone out in the audience, we'll bring them up and let them kind of present on their posts, and then I'll kind of fill in the gaps for anyone who's not around. It looks like we've got Willie Fox out there. Perhaps we have someone from Tokenomics or TDMC that can hop up for the mandate as well. GM, folks.
GM, back again. Are we here? What are we talking about? Porter Finance?
Well, it looks like we don't have anyone here, so it sounds like if the three of us on stage want to take on Porter, the Give Swap, the TDMC mandate, and Water. I didn't need to delete that. Water we can leave. So those three you definitely need to take care of.
So
Willie, if you want to take the Give, I'll take the other two.
Deal. That's what I was going to say too. Cool. All right, I'll dive right into the Give one.
Yeah, you start it.
Okay, sweet. So this is a proposal from the Giveth community for a Fox Give treasury swap and joint liquidity provision. Again, very similar to the token swap and joint LP that we executed with OneHive and Honey, and that we still need to execute with Thorchain. Hopefully we'll get that executed soon. But yeah, it's proven to be a really great model for increasing liquidity, which we all know at this point is vital, but also one of our biggest expenses right now with liquidity mining. So initiatives like this are a great way to increase our liquidity without ongoing expense. Also diversify our treasury by getting some give into our treasury, and hopefully enable us to one day wean off of liquidity mining, or at least wind it down. So yeah, this proposal would be for a $250,000 token swap and joint LP, which would create a $1 million total Fox Give liquidity pool on Honey swap on Gnosis chain. So yeah, I think we need to follow up and see what's next, because I know that's been an incubation, and I think it's just about, or an ideation. I think it's just about ready to go up for a formal vote. So we'll follow up with them and see what the next steps are there. All right, you're up, John.
Thanks, Willie. John, you can't type and speak at the same time? Come on.
Yeah, sorry, my computer is like overloaded lately and everything goes, Discord's really slow. But yes, I am here. So yeah, two different things here. Let's first talk about the Porter one, then we'll talk about TMDC. So the Porter proposal is from Jordan, the founder of Porter. He's been on a number of tokenomics calls, so anyone who's been joining those should be quite familiar with him and the idea of Porter at this point. Porter is on track to launch sometime in May or June, no exact launch date. But this proposal is more or less to just codify ShapeShift's interest. I would kind of view it as a signaling proposal, because we're not really committing to anything other than signaling that we want to be a launch partner with Porter. And that doesn't commit us to any specific amounts that we want to do for one of these fixed interest loans. Really cool product. The whole idea behind Porter is more or less that DAOs can basically get credit lines, get credit that's paid at fixed interest over a period of time, no repayment needed until maturity. So this is something, it's the TMDC has been doing all of its work that would be a super useful tool for the DAO to basically get, additional diversification opportunities with the stablecoin via this type of loan, but without having to put any sell pressure on the market or potentially ever sell that Fox, because it could be paid off, 12, 18, 24 months later at maturity as more revenue comes in. So it's a really cool idea and product. There's certainly much more to go in terms of audits and seeing the product actually launch, and the community and the TMDC deciding on what the best first application of this is. But this proposal, I think, is definitely worthwhile, and I personally am in support of this kind of signaling to basically be a launch partner for Porter. And in exchange for that, they're going to give us a very generous portion of their governance tokens as a result of this. So, possibly, depending on the terms of the deal we end up deciding to do, assuming we want to do that at the time and all the audits. And yeah, if you want to hear more from it, Jordan has been actually a regular visitor at many of our tokenomics calls, and we could pretty much, he's been very responsive, and I'm sure we could get him to discuss more about any points if anyone has any questions.
Hey, John, I had one question here. With our relationship with Porter being so close at the before the launch here, is there any sort of utility or play we could have with VFox as well, or is this something kind of more specific for just building a relationship with for the TDMC?
Yeah, honestly, that's a great question. And I've actually, even before VFox was formed or before the proposal passed, I was actually talking with Jordan a little bit about that possibility. They just raised a financing round, like a private equity round, that they announced like in the last month of like $5 million. So I don't know that they're looking for more financing at this moment. I'm certainly open to that, and I think the VFox committee will be very interested. So we'll keep that discussion going with Porter and Jordan. The cool thing, though, is that we could kind of get some of that same exposure via this proposal. Like, I'm not even sure, even if VFox made, a 50 or 100K allocation, that we would get the same amount of governance tokens that are being offered to us just by using the product and just by signaling as a launch partnership. So, maybe there's an additional ability for us to get, additional partnership and exposure at some point, and I'll certainly keep that discussion open with Jordan, and I would be very open to it. But at this point, I'm not sure if they're looking for that capital or not, to be honest.
Awesome.
But great. Definitely something I've thought of too.
And can we have you give us the update on the update to the TDMC mandate?
Yep. Yeah, happy to do that. Kent couldn't be here today, so he asked me to cover this. So Rotorless, one of the TMDC members, has put this proposal up into ideation. And effectively, it's to just continue the mandate that the TMDC has already done and to basically allocate another 60 million FOX under the TMDC's discretion, advisory discretion, in order to keep running the operations that the TMDC does, every day, every week at the moment on behalf of the DAO Treasury. I think this is really important. Hopefully those of you who are around here, if you don't know what the TMDC does, it is the committee that is in charge of diversification efforts around the DAO and makes a number of various decisions to basically get various value from our FOX, use it in things like our bond program, use it in things like liquidity rewards, use it in ways to get more exposure to stables and put our treasury in a better place for everyone. And also, does all of the, machinations for, making sure that the DAO meets its obligations with everything that's been voted in by governance for, monthly payroll, et cetera. I think it's become a pretty important and integral part of the DAO. And the committee members are very generous with their time. I'm obviously a committee member myself, but not speaking of myself, but everyone else that puts in that time and effort every week. I think I really appreciate it, and I hope others do too. And I think it's a pretty important part of the DAO at this point. I think so. At this point, the TMDC has pretty much run up against its allocation from the previous proposal. So if this does not pass, we would unfortunately be at a standstill until we figured out some other way to go, and that could cause a number of operational issues in the DAO. So I think this is pretty important. Certainly, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask myself or anyone else on the TMDC. You can always pop into the Tokenomics public channel and talk to us there. We're always having discussions there. You can come to the Tokenomics meetings that happen every Tuesday, or any of our TMDC meetings, which are also open to the public. There's also pretty good information in the ideation post about exactly what Tokenomics has done, where all that FOX has gone, how it's been allocated, what the results of that were. Rotorless, Prof, and Josh did a really good job of creating great summaries and links within that doc if you have those type of questions. But if you have anything past that, please come free to ask us. And that's really it. So this is an ideation now, and probably early next week, once we've hit the 5 days, assuming it's doing well in ideation, this will go up to snapshot. And then that will, if that passes, allow the TMDC to continue its mandate.
Awesome. Thank you very much, John, for filling us in on all of that stuff. And I look forward to seeing these move on their way to be up for vote soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, GM.
GM, and Drip Drip. Next, we're on to new forum posts. We've got one from Eric and one from DeFi Seth. Looks like Eric isn't with us, so I'll do that really quickly, and then we'll pull up Seth here. Eric has been kind of leading the forefront and pioneering in our external bounties project in terms of providing his own capital to try and see new features get added to the ShapeShift platform. So he's done a couple of bounties so far that have been pretty successful. And this is a post that's more of a discussion right now. It's not shaped into a full proposal yet, but it's a discussion around partially refunding Eric for specific bounties that he might do in the future that are external bounties. And there's a whole bunch of specifics in there about how the money is going to be used, where Eric said he'll be putting them into future bounties, and kind of just an ask for terms around what something like that might look like. A couple of key contributors have already put in their 2 cents around it, and I think that this is a discussion that could really use the community's input here, because it's could change a whole bunch of how we shape and succeed in future external bounties, which bounties seem to be the way of the future with the growth here in this DAO for scalability. So please, if you haven't educated yourself on this discussion and haven't added your 2 cents in there yet, the conversation is just getting started. So please check it out. Let the community and Eric know what you think about this idea for partial refunds. And maybe we can get some kind of mandates and protocols out for not only Eric, but external bounties that others might be interested in doing in the future as well. Cool. And we've got one more new forum post, and that's from DeFi Seth. GM Seth, how are you?
Hey, I'm great.
Good. Well, tell us all about EPNS.
Yeah, EPNS is the Ethereum push notification service. So essentially, it allows us to send notifications based on wallets. So it's a great opportunity for us to communicate with our users on a wallet basis, as opposed to, getting information the classical way through emails and such. And there's kind of 2 parts to what I want to do. The first part is for us to set up an account with them, which will cost, $150, and that's really all that the proposal is asking for in terms of funding. But really, it's to make the DAO itself the admin of our account with them. And so users sign up on the account, or you could use the a mobile app or a browser plugin. And so we set up an account, people sign up, and then they'll get notifications centered around governance. So when a proposal moves to snapshot, when there's 24 hours left and when it's passed. And eventually, they're going to enable you to actually vote from the notification, which is pretty cool. So that's the first part. The second part is essentially using their API to allow us to send notifications through the ShapeShift web app. But that's more long-term.
Awesome. And then, so that second part would not be part of this proposal, or is this just kind of an MVP scope with ENPS?
I guess not directly, but if the proposal passes, which it probably will, then EPNS will be our, I guess, official, notification provider. And so, once that's done, I suppose product and engineering might pick up the rest.
Gotcha. So similar to the Porter one.
Right. There's a few technical reasons why this has to be done up through a proposal, and it centers around making the ShapeShift DAO smart contract the admin of the account.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, just the formalities of taking care of that for sure. Awesome. Sounds great. I do know that we did have a little bit of a discussion around this previously in the lunch AMA that was held yesterday.
Yes.
And then did you guys talk about this in an office hours as well? Or is this kind of just coming to breath now in the last couple of days?
It started earlier this week. So I
Cool.
published the proposal on Monday, and I'll be moving it to ideation tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing the work on the ground floor and drumming up all of the conversations around this. If people have more questions for this, now's the time to do it inside that forum post before we get to ideation. And yeah, it looks like there was a little bit inside product today earlier that you guys talked about EPNS. That's where it was. I knew we've been talking about, I've heard this acronym before today a couple of times. So cool. Well, thank you, Seth.
Fox and I met with them last Friday, and that's kind of when we really started all this.
Awesome. Well, I think push notification services were something that was definitely extremely useful for us in the app when we were at centralized ShapeShift. Just those kind of FOMO notes around, hey, this coin is at this price, things like that, really got a lot of engagement. So I can't wait to see what we can do with EPNS if this is the route we'd like to go. But I definitely do see the value in push service notifications for the app, which we're currently lacking now that we're in the DAO again. So thank you for highlighting that and bringing a solution to our attention.
No problem. Thank you.
For sure. Awesome. Well, thanks, Seth. Let's see what else we've got on the list here. We've got 3 old forum posts that have got some conversation still going on. There's LPX's bounty for 25K Fox for the direct implementation of Cosmos IBC auto compounding tool. This one right now has still got discussion going on because it's meeting up against kind of the new posts we presented, we meaning Willie and some of the other workstream leaders, about how external bounties can meet inside our roadmap and how we can cause less friction and tension to assure that we don't blow up our roadmap and we don't delay external bounties or discourage them from being posted and getting across the finish line. So LPX has been talking with Willie Fox as well as a couple other people in there about how to get this bounty a little bit more shaped and formed and approved by the different work streams. But this is a cool external bounty that might be coming down the pipeline. So if you are a bounty hunter that is looking for kind of a bigger bounty than just the ones we post on Gitcoin right now, I would direct your attention over to this forum post and see if we can start coordinating with LPX and the other work stream leaders to break ground on this bounty. There's the to be determined SCP of the documentary film production. They had an AMA either last week or maybe it was this week. Time's blurring for me a little bit. And there was a really great discussion in general about the practices of making this documentary, kind of the behind the scenes, what has to go in pre-production and post-production, as well as topics around even like the content of the movie itself, different ways for us to distribute it, kind of the income that can be made on it, and a whole bunch of other things. That AMA, I think, is probably the best place for people to get caught up if this is a new subject for you. And if this is something that you've been kind of following, there have been quite a few new posts inside the forum this week following the AMA. So make sure you're up to snuff on the information here and you've made your voice heard on what you'd like to see going on with this documentary. And I imagine that we're pretty close to seeing this go to either like another fully drafted ideation post or even a proposal, depending on how everything's shaped up in the forum. So please keep your eyes on that. And then there was a proposal last week from Ali for having a Persian community. And I'm pretty sure that we connected him with our globalization work stream to get a Farsi chat going. So super awesome to see how quickly we can grow communities in other languages here. The LATAM team and so many other ones are testament to that. So, someone who speaks another language that doesn't have representation in the Fox 10, and you'd like to bring them on as Foxes, we've definitely got a whole bunch of examples on how to bring contributors in here, and how we've got a lot of work to do in translations and things like that to help spread the love of the Fox. So that, I believe, wraps me up. Cool. Awesome. Doesn't look like any questions. Well, thank you all for joining on another governance call.
Sorry,
hey, Josh. Jim,
Hey.
scared me.
Yeah, no, sorry. It took me a bit to find the window to get up here on stage. I was not able to attend that documentary AMA, and in general, it just seems like too much money to spend. Was there any talk in the AMA about that fact, and maybe a shorter documentary for less funds or anything like that?
Yeah, just for you, Josh, I asked the question around the docuseries, and they had some pretty good arguments, at least for why a feature-length film has typically performs a lot better than the docuseries. And I remember they said if you want to do a docuseries, you need to have like a bunch of episodes planned out in order for it to get picked up by any of the streaming platforms and stuff. But yes, we did talk about the cost. I think that so far has been the biggest reservation, rightfully so, because it's a significant investment, and we won't see any kind of return for it for over a year. And I do appreciate all their transparency with that. They like the idea. I think has been a lot of support around the idea that, like, if we are going to do this, let's not do it by ourselves. Let's not make it just about ShapeShift, and let's not fund it alone. Let's partner with a couple other awesome DAOs that would be excited to help tell the story, and share the cost. And I think there's some agreement that would be a good way to split the cost and make it overall just a more compelling documentary. Eric also had a comment that in the forum recently that he would support this, but thinks that maybe we might want to revisit it in a couple months. He said he wouldn't support it right now, but he likes the idea and might support it in a couple months. And I think that stance makes sense as well. So yeah, I think I would invite you guys to just add any other comments you have there, because it's possible that they're going to take it to ideation next just to get some more signal from the community. And then, but yeah, I think it is the type of thing that if there's not support for it now, it could be something that we revisit in a couple months, and at least in the meantime, talk to some other DAOs and see if they'd be interested in partnering.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. I like that idea. In a couple months, we have a little bit more picture of things like revenue and expenses and that kind of stuff. As it would stand right now, I would vote against it. So that's it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess, for hopping up there and communicating your insights around this proposal and your concerns with the budget. And thanks, Willie, for filling in some questions there. It looks like some people posted the AMA inside the stage chat as well. So there's definitely a resource there for people to answer any more questions they might have, or if that sparks further questions that we can get more details on. I think this DAO is really good at asking the hard questions here, so let's keep them coming. All right, looks like the rest of this has just turned to a peanut gallery. So thank you all for joining us on the 36th weekly governance call. We're wrapping up just a little bit early, but I appreciate that. It's better than going long. Hope you guys have had a lovely week in the DAO. I know I have, and make it a good GM.